ExTrans people who have detransitioned or in the process of doing so. Why? The number of negative comments based on semantics is crazy. Can't we assume a question is well-intentioned these days? If we attack everyone who is uninformed on a topic you are close to, how do you hope to gain support and acceptance? It seems really counterproductive. Okay, so I was SAED when I was around 10 years old, so in my mind I thought that if I were a boy, it wouldn't have happened. Which I know it's not the case, it can happen to anyone, but I was just a child. Fast forward to 13 years old me, I was sure I was a trans boy, 100%. I came out and for 3 years I lived as Cole. I didn't start hormones but I had socially transitioned. There were times when I was doubting myself, I wasn't so sure but I couldn't understand why. The essay part happened again around 16 and it hit me, so I went to my therapist and just told her everything. I spoke to my family and friends. Now I'm almost 19 years old and still healing. I hate when people still call me Cole, but hey, I can't do much about it. I convinced myself I wasn't trans from a mixture of not wanting to put up with all the bullshit and misinformation about how effective transitioning could be. About a decade later I finally came out and finally started medically transitioning when the dysphoria got too bad for me to live in denial anymore. It's worth keeping in mind that the majority of people who detransition do so for similar reasons, and a lot of trans people over the age of 35 are retransitioners, who started over when dysphoria got too bad and or they ended up in a better position to deal with potentially losing friends and family. They're even the majority of the trans people I know over that age. I am not trans but I have known someone who was AMAB. Transitioned socially in terms of gender expression and began the process of accessing therapy to be allowed hormones. They got a year in, and decided they were non-binary rather than a trans woman. That process was really important and highlighted that when we do away with binary gender, far more people would find a place for themselves as they are. Edit. The fact this post has garnered so much anger is really interesting. Why are people so threatened by gender differences or challenges to this as a norm? What difference does it actually make to your life? Reading this thread I see two things in common with every story. Mental health and societal expectations. These are both things that world still does not put enough solutions into. A lot of these peoples could have gone through life without having to start transition to realize they just had mental issues. The world needs to overcome these obstacles. I just want to pop in to say thank you to everyone sharing so honestly. This isn't talked about enough and I think it's so important, especially for young people to see. My little sister began a social transition when she was 16. She cut her hair, went by a different name, wore men's clothing, and began binding. I supported her, but when I realized that she was just as depressed and insecure as before, I had a long conversation with her where I just let her say anything that she was feeling. It turns out, she was struggling with a sexuality crisis and felt understandably uncomfortable with the male gaze femininity that's forced down our throats 24/7. So, she started experimenting with femininity on her own terms and is now extremely happy. I'm extremely happy for her. This doesn't in any way discredit trans people who are comfortable with their decisions. I never actually transitioned, but it turned out that I just don't like my assigned gender, not that I was supposed to be a different one. No errors to fix, just getting used to a body I don't want. This seems like a long-shot question. Trans individuals are a small demographic and those who decide to detransition are an even smaller section of that demographic. Honestly didn't realize the mental health struggles LGBT community endures before reading through some of these replies. You're valued, good luck y'all. This thread have me a fucking headache. I suggest going on YouTube, op. Much easier to find and hear experiences without all of these misinformed and frankly useless comments. Here's your answer. Source page 111. Transphobia is the biggest reason by a massive margin. Living as a trans person was harder than quietly hating their body. I want to transition myself out of this dumb comment section. Not detransitioned yet, 25 MTF. My parents are making my life hell through bullying, I don't feel safe around them anymore to be honest. It sucks, I really like my life right now but I miss having Christmas and Thanksgiving with my big family. Now I gotta vicariously watch with my Facebook. I'm afraid of my parents ultimately, they are very conservative and love to drink. My dad had a tendency to get violent when he's angry and drunk and just my presence makes him angry. So yeah, I mean if I wanted to detrans I guess the likely reason is that I don't really have parents anymore or a biological family. I'm trans and tired of people politicizing and scrutinizing everything about us. We're just people trying to live our lives and trying to find peace of mind, damn it. Edit. Well, fuck me for trying to add some sanity to this shit show. Please, continue to downvote me. Let the hate flow through you. We aren't going anywhere, so you may as well get used to it. Sorts by controversial. I know of someone who transitioned, detransitioned and was the first person in Australia to be acknowledged on their passport as gender X. Norrie may well be. They have lots of interviews and articles online and published a book called Ultra Sex. I had a year on hormones. I was in a relationship with her MTF and became convinced that I had a repressed transgender identity like she used to, so that's what I told the psychiatrist. After breaking up several years later, it was pretty clear I was only doing it because I was madly in love and didn't want to feel left out of her friendship groups, which were not that welcoming to cis people. I haven't detransitioned yet because, after nearly 10 years of hormones, it would not be an easy thing. But I've been questioning myself pretty heavily for the past year and come to the conclusion that I could have been happy, or at least content, if I had lived as a woman. But I internalized my trans identity so immediately that I didn't leave myself room for questioning early on or for addressing other issues of internalized misogyny and body dysmorphia in therapy. I also was not fully prepared for the negative health risks of hormone replacement. As I've gotten older, my body has started to betray me. I'm realizing how serious it is and that I'm risking my current and future health. I want to be alive and healthy more than I want to be a man. I am trans, I have not detransitioned and honestly don't plan to, so I can't be much help. However, I did want to say no question is a stupid question and any trans people harassing y'all for just being curious is a piece of shit. When people talk about gender constructs, I don't get all huffy cause insecure in my choice and am happy with myself when I look in the mirror. SEs like those trans individuals are insecure and not 100% confident with the choice they made. People usually lash out when they feel attacked, so keep being curious, keep asking questions. KNOWLEDEE is power. My boyfriend of 7 years was once MTF transgender, now they identify as a femboy. And #X200B. I have a feeling a hell of a lot of trans people will come to the conclusion that they are just homosexual. Not sure if this counts as I never did hormone therapy. From 5'11" I wanted to be a boy. I told my mom all the time that I wished I was a boy. Played with the boys, dressed like a boy, even peed standing up. My mom just let me do my thing and never made me feel bad about it or that I was doing something wrong, but she didn't start me on hormones. Today at 33 I couldn't be more happy that she let me go through my journey without doing something as drastic as starting to officially transition me. Today I'm deaf androgynous and still wear boy clothes, but I'm happy and comfortable in the body I have. Go to r_detrans instead of here. Edit. Didn't add the underscore in the subreddit name. Thank you for asking the question, and thank you to those who answered. Great insight. This thread will go well. I only know one person who detransitioned, ExTrans, and they did it because their family would not support them and they were scared that the intense bullying they were dealing with made life not worth living. There is a study that was released a few years ago. A very small percentage of the trans community detransition. I think it's less than 10%, and of that, 87% did so because of family pressure, lack of affordability or lack of support. Edit. Oof. Reading some of the comments here reminds me why I hid myself in a closet for 16 years. Y'all can be cruel. People didn't accept me. Probably going to retransition soon. Thank God I wasn't too far in the process. I don't know the correct terms. But as a straight non-trans male, this thread is fascinating as fuck. I didn't even know this was a thing. There's a good Swedish documentary called Regretters about this. There's someone on TikTok username cat_Kattinson who detransitioned and talks about it. For those who are saying nasty stuff about LGBTQ, I have a simple thing to say. As a straight guy myself, I really don't get the idea of being differently oriented. But that's fine with me cause my parents raised me a gentleman. If someone is happy doing something that doesn't hurt other people, you should be okay with it too cause it doesn't concern you. You have no right to judge or humiliate them. Every entity that exists deserves happiness. You don't support LGBTQ, fine. You don't have to. Just don't be mean or rude. Life is hard as it is. Don't make it hard for anyone else. Hope this post doesn't get deleted, locked. Thought I was FTM. Realized I was actually genderfluid. Don't know if that counts as what you wanted, but I lived as a male from 12-17 and now I kinda just take it day by day and do whatever feels comfortable. I don't really love labels. The negative comments and people trying to intimidate and discourage people from sharing their story is fucking insane. What are you afraid of? The culture of silence and sweeping differing experiences under rug is fucked up. I don't know if this counts, but I came out to my family as FTM early last year and slowly began transitioning. The only reason I detransitioned is because I just felt that I wasn't ready. I currently identify as agender and I feel that this is the closest to how I feel. Just putting this out there, detransition doesn't have to be a full throttle. Doing it slowly can help you learn your bounds and what makes you comfortable with. I've been determined to fit into a specific binary since the beginning. Man or women were my only options. I had a very Calvin Garrard view on the trans experience: you either were or weren't. Truthfully though, don't let media or anything else give you any pressure. Being comfortable in yourself is much better than just being too scared to be out of the binary. I just wanted to thank everyone on here for opening up about their most personal experiences, and thank Reddit for even allowing this thread to stay up. Such a topic would be taboo just a year ago. Peace. People can do whatever they want in life, seriously, no judgment here, but it just seems wild to transition to another gender before being older, 25 plus. I look back my decision making and thinking from 15-25 and it's so different to how I want to live my life now. This thread was asking detransition as a question, and 95% of the responses are from cis people who have never transitioned. This is the biggest problem. Leave trans and detrans people alone. You're not helping any of us by ramming your ignorant, misinformed opinions into every trans and detrans conversation. From reading this, I think we can all agree that mental health treatment in this country is a travesty, and we do a terrible job treating it and supporting those that need treatment to get it. Mental health issues should be destigmatized and we would all benefit from supporting those suffering from these issues. Brave or crazy of you to not serious tag this. This will get buried, but just want to cheer for the stories of self-discovery journeys that you've all been on. Keep going and keep growing. Wow, what a shit show this became. Because it's about me, not others. I don't give a damn how other people see me, because I know who I am and I'm okay with that. I wear what I want, do what I want and go where I want, with the confidence to laugh when people try to put a narrow box around me. Live free, Yal. I see your journey, I've walked your path. Good luck and following seas. I'm not being a dick, but it seems like most of the top posts I read all seem to point towards mental health issues. Is this typically the case with trans? If saying trans is an insult, my bad. I'm not in the know. This prob should be posted under Too Afraid to Ask. I don't have anything to add, but just wanted to thank everyone who offered honest and respectful responses. I'm a cis white straight male, but not in the villainous macho way. Just a dude who wants everyone to live their best lives, and I also love learning about other people's experiences. While questions like this have the potential to be a dumpster fire of bigotry and hate, I've been delighted to see some good responses. Thank you to those of you who have been vulnerable to other strangers on the internet. I'm not trans, but I think feeling lost is a universal feeling. Good luck everyone. Life is weird and we exist on a floating rock blasting through space. Puts hazmat suit on before sorting by controversial. As a guy that is pretty ignorant about the whole thing, I am not against trans people at all, because I think whatever that makes you happy as long as you don't hurt someone else, and thus I don't care. But there seems to theme of mental illness and diagnosis of autism in most if not all stories. Sad, and makes you think about people that transition very early in life before most people have figured themselves out. I never officially transitioned or tried to, but for the longest time I thought I was a man instead of woman. I hated being a woman and dressed like a guy. I joined the Marines, and then also started going to ex-gay therapy. Somewhere along the way, I realized I am proud to be a woman, and can just be a lesbian and a tomboy. I now like getting dressed up in skirts and dresses from time to time, and just realized I needed to come to terms with my superimposed Christian self, and recognize I can be me in the world. I am glad I didn't grow up today, because I would have made much different decisions I would have regretted later in life.